Hello everybody, my name's Lisa Walker and I'm medical tutor at Balliol College. I also have responsibility as the tutor for undergraduate admissions at Balliol. During this talk I'm going to tell you a little bit about the college and give a bit of an introduction as to what we offer. I'm then also going to talk a little bit about admissions, which I'm sure is one of the things that you all want to hear quite a lot about. In order to do this, I think it's important to have a bit of an understanding as to how the Oxford colleges work. What we do in the colleges is that we are essentially a parallel structure to the departments and to the faculties. Your college is responsible for guiding your teaching and your welfare, as well as for your accommodation and your food while you are a student. There's lots of different colleges, and you can direct your application to a specific college. But bear in mind, you can also make an open application, which means that you don't apply to a specific college. What happens then is that your application is allocated to a particular college, and they will then handle the first part of your application. It's important to realise that there are far more similarities than there are differences between the colleges. Balliol is one of the oldest. There has been a college on the Balliol site for over 750 years. We're a medium-sized college, and we like to think of ourselves as being relatively informal, but we are still academically pretty serious. If this was an in-person open day, you would all have found us centrally in Oxford. But because we're online, I need to tell you that we're really central. But we do have quite a lot of extra space around our sports fields, and that's literally only about 10 minutes walk away from the main site in the middle of Oxford. So how does this academic provision work within Balliol? Well, it varies by subject, but in general, every subject will have a team of tutors, supported by lecturers. And together, what we do as tutors is that we manage the programme of tutorials that run alongside the lectures, seminars and practical classes, which I'll talk a bit more about in a minute. In Balliol, we also have a dedicated welfare and a pastoral support team. What I'd really suggest that you do is to have a look at the college's website to find out more about specific college teaching in each subject. So when you are choosing a college, things you might want to think about: location, number of undergraduates. Do you want a big college? Do you want a small college where you're going to know absolutely everybody? How many students are there taking your subject? The last four of these, food and accommodation, facilities, atmosphere and the student body and JCR, are all things that I would really suggest that you talk to our students about on the online chat. They will be able to tell you exactly what it is like here in Balliol. One of the things I would not suggest you do is waste time studying admission statistics. All colleges do share information to ensure that the best applicants are made offers. But also do look at the subjects that are on offer within a particular college. There's no point in applying to Balliol for geography. We don't actually take geography undergraduates in Balliol, but we do take undergraduates in many other subjects. So I'm going to spend the next couple of slides talking about how you learn within a course in Oxford. You'll have lectures. The number of these varies quite a lot between the different courses. If you're a scientist, you may also have laboratory sessions, practical sessions, and most people will also have seminars, and these are organised by the department. And then you'll also have tutorials, of which more in a minute, and then you are required to do some individual study as well. thought it was really useful to put this slide in. This could well be a typical day as a student in Oxford, particularly, I suppose, if you are a scientist. Because if you're a scientist, you are going to spend most of your time doing things that are organised centrally by the university. This is the purple stuff at the top. So whichever college you go to, the course is the same. The university organises the lectures and the practical classes and also sets the examinations. So you might spend most of your day doing things where it doesn't matter which college you're at. But then you will also have tutorials. And a tutorial is essentially a small group. You can have up to 3 a week for an hour. And one of the things about the tutorial system, quite apart from the fact we're supposed to say we're leading experts in our fields and that we can give personalised attention to each student, the flip side of all of that is that actually if you are struggling, we know about it, and we know about it pretty early actually. So we can find out what's going on. We can usually address any issues as they come up, as opposed to being in a situation where you are one of 350 people in a lecture theatre and nobody actually knows whether you've turned up or you haven't. So, things that people sometimes worry about. Finance. It's always a problem. Here in the UK, we have, I suppose for UK students, there are several different sources of funding. EU students can also access the things that I've listed below. I think it's also really important to realise that colleges, and Balliol are very good at this actually, offering loans and grants to students who need support. We take the attitude in Balliol that nobody should be forced either not to come to Balliol or to leave mid-course if the finances are getting to a stage where they would preclude the student from continuing or coming in the first place. So where are you going to live? Well, most colleges can house most of their undergraduates for most of their time in Oxford. Balliol can go one better as of next year, because from 2021 we will be able to accommodate all of our undergraduates all the way through the course. As I've said before, talk to the undergraduates who are on the online chat about what the accommodation is like and how much it costs and all of that kind of thing. Welfare is really important. Each college does have a dedicated welfare team. The JCR also offers peer support. Many courses also have dedicated peer supporters. I know in medicine, for example, we have a system of departmental peer support which seems to work very well actually. There are also central university counselling services and other support services, for example the disability support services. So there's an awful lot of welfare actually within Oxford University. I remember one of my undergraduates at the end of Freshers Week, she just arrived and she said, "Lisa, is everybody here to look after us? Does anyone actually teach us anything?" At times it can feel a bit like that, but there's an awful lot of welfare. It may appear that student life in Oxford is all about books. It's not. We think every student should have a fun and well-rounded university experience. Oxford's going to be pretty lively. It's a fairly small town and it's got 40,000 students in it. There are literally hundreds of societies and Oxford has a really good nightlife. Obviously in the middle of COVID, things are a little bit curtailed. Of course they are. But usually when we're back up and running, it's a very, very lively place to be. this slide in because I thought it was useful. What comes after Oxford? Everyone always thinks that Oxford's a terribly kind of dry, academic-y kind of place. But as you can see from this, it provides you with a really good training for all sorts of occupations. Now, what you really want to know about, I would imagine, is admissions. What are we looking for in our prospective students? Well, we are looking for academic achievement. There's no getting away from that. We're looking for aptitude, we're looking for motivation, but we're really looking for potential. How are we going to assess all of this? Well, we have a look at your UCAS form. We look at your personal statement, of which more in a minute. We look at your exam results, and we look at your school reference. We look at tests or written work that you may have submitted. And if you get that far, we will interview you. I think one of the things that's really important to say is that we do all of this in context. We know that there are schools up and down the UK and overseas where pretty well everybody will get the sort of grades that would make them competitive in an Oxford application. Equally, we know that there are schools up and down the UK where almost nobody will get the sort of grades that would make them competitive in an Oxford application. And we now have really good ways of setting people's grades in context of the school that they have been at. What we don't look at, and it's really important to say this, we don't look at your sporting achievements. We don't really care whether you have played county table tennis or indeed county tiddlywinks for the last 6 years. We don't care at all how much money your family has. We don't look at whether or not other family members have been to Oxford. We also don't really look at your choice of college, because we do move applicants between colleges at various points in admissions in order to make absolutely sure that if one college has a whole load of excellent applicants and another college doesn't have very many very good applicants, that all of the really excellent ones get in no matter where they applied to in the first place. So, if you are thinking of applying this year, you probably need to get on with it because the applications are due in mid-October. You will need a referee to provide an academic reference, and you also need to write your own personal statement. Now, people always ask me what I should put in a personal statement. The clue really is in the title. It's a personal statement. I can't tell you what to write. All I can say to you is that you need to express your enthusiasm for your chosen course of study. You may be required to do subject tests, of which more in a minute, and for shortlisted applicants, interviews are likely to be in mid-December. This year, for the first time, because of COVID, all of the interviews are taking place online. There is some good news on this slide. So, how do the written work and tests function? Well, some subjects will ask you to supply written work by the start of November. Lots of subjects ask you to sit aptitude tests in schools or at other centres. It's important to realise that this year the tests may fall into half term in some bits of the UK, so make sure you check early so that you are not elsewhere when the tests happen. So once you've applied, your application gets passed on to a college. And your college then reviews your application and all of the supporting information before deciding whether to shortlist for you. And if you are shortlisted, then we interview you. So how do interviews work? Well, they are generally similar to a tutorial in the subject. Usually people are interviewed at least twice and often by different colleges. We are not trying to trip you up. What you're all going to want to know is how to prepare for these interviews. Well, the interviews last 20 to 30 minutes. It's really important to try and make sure that you can keep going for that long in an interview situation. We've had several people over the years who've done absolutely brilliantly in the first 5 minutes and then have lost the plot entirely. What we're trying to do in an interview is to make it a little bit like a tutorial setting. We are not going to throw you a banana and say, why is it curved? So we're not trying to trick you. We are trying to challenge you and to get you to think, because that's actually what we really want to know about. We don't want to know whether you can reel off a list of facts, because actually anybody can learn those. What we want to know is, can you think about a problem that you don't know the answer to? A few tips here. Make sure you remember what you wrote on your application and that you're happy to discuss your schoolwork, particularly any written work that you sent in with your application. Practice talking about your subject with anyone who will listen to you, particularly teachers at school, parents, anybody. We do know that people coming for Oxford interviews are incredibly nervous. Everybody always is. Try and be yourself and relax. Try and talk to us. Try and talk about anything and everything, because then that will enable us to get the best out of you. We do take into account all the available information to make our offers. It's important to realise that, because it doesn't just go on the interview. It goes on the interview plus the UCAS form, plus the personal statement, plus the academic reference. And we do share information to ensure that the best candidates get offers across the university. The outcome of your application will be sent to you after Christmas, and I've listed the offers there. It's important to realise your offer may come from a completely different college, even one that hasn't interviewed you, and that's because of the sharing of information between different colleges. This is where you find out a whole load more information. That I've listed several different websites there. We are running a live chat, and you can post questions via that. You can email us on Undergraduate at Balliol, but I really would encourage you to engage with the live chats here in the open days, and particularly with the students who are online to help you, because there's an awful lot of information that I haven't had time to go into here, but that the students will be able to fill you in on pretty well everything you need to know about being a student here in Oxford. The last thing to say, I think, is that I really would encourage you to apply. You will never know whether you could have got in unless you stick in that application. Thanks very much.